Rebranding can oftentimes be a way for a person or a company to reintroduce themselves or their brand to the public. Whether the reason for the rebranding involves them trying to distance themselves from what the brand has been in the past, or they're trying to capture a new audience, or the brand was just a little racist. The pursuit of innovation and renovation leads companies and people down unexpected paths. Sometimes these journeys result in remarkable successes that redefine industry and capture audiences. And other times, they make us wonder what was so wrong with these things that you had to change them. And they make us wonder, what were they thinking? And that's what we will be discussing today. Some of the strangest rebrands I've ever seen. Let's start off with one of the newer brands, Starry. For those of you who don't know, Starry, formerly known as Sierra Mist, transitioned in 2023. And ever since then, the brand has never been the same. I have no idea what was wrong with Sierra Mist in the first place. You know, it had a nice logo, and it was made with real sugar. But Pepsi decided to scrap it for this abomination that's made with high fructose corn syrup. And I swear that they think people have never had a lemon lime soda before. I've had Sprite before. Speaking of Sprite, that's exactly who they're trying to be, but they're failing miserably. They had to get Ice Spice to try to save their brand, but I'm sorry, no amount of ass shaking is going to convince me to drink this. I just realized I should actually try this before tearing this drink apart. Hold on real quick. I got it, let's try it and rate it 1 through 10. I had to go to 3 separate gas stations to find this, and when I found it, the guy at the counter took a picture to send to his friend because he could not believe someone was actually drinking this. All right, let's give this a shot. I got it cold too, so don't say I'm not drinking it right because it's not cold. Bottoms up.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
And you know what? Yo, what's up with the aggressive marketing campaign towards black people? Something about this doesn't sit right with me, man. Why did they replace the natural occurring sugar that they had in Sierra Mist, and when it was time to rebrand with Starry, they replaced it with high fructose corn syrup? Huh? Unlock your third eye, my brothers and sisters. This soda was designed to destroy the black community. And that's why they made the Twix double the size. They're trying to make us fat. Stay woke. Or maybe, just maybe, they know that black people are a very loyal customer base. And if black people like something, everybody else ends up liking it. You know, it's like what happened with Sprite. Okay, sure. But I'm still right. They want to be a bootleg Sprite. The crazy thing is that this isn't even their first rebrand, because in 2015, they rebranded as Mist Twist, TWST. Wow, this is the most how you do fellow kids thing I've ever seen. It only lasted 2 years because no one wanted to drink something called Mist Twist. It sounds like something that's going to liquefy your inside. It's still not as bad when they completely rebranded Apple Jacks. Look what they did to my man, Sidoman. They cut his dreads off. They cut the Rasta man's dreads. Those animals. They even took his piercing away. They took away all this man's aura, leaving him looking submissive and breedable. I swear in the next couple of years, they're going to pull a Mandela effect and tell us that Sidoman never had a Rasta cap. It's going to be like the Fruit of a Loom situation all over again. And I realized they don't even have Apple Jacks commercials anymore. You don't find that suspicious? But upon further inspection, I can see why they had to do it. This man was nearly fried in almost every single commercial he was in, and I can see how that's a concern when you're selling a product to children, and they see a Jamaican cinnamon stick higher than Elon Musk. But on the other hand, sugary cereal is worse for your health than smoking that herb. Just saying. But if they're going to rebrand, why not change Apple's design too? Because this nigga is ugly. Wait a second. Are the little pieces of cereal supposed to be Cinnamon and Apple's children? Does that mean they sold their children to be consumed by us? If those are their children, does that mean Apple be taking it up the Bucky boy? I don't know what Kellogg's was thinking when they took away this iconic design for it. Whoever told them to do this, I hope they get fired. It was probably the same person who told them that telling people to eat cereal for dinner was a good idea. Joke's on them. I've been doing it since I was a kid. That really shouldn't be a flex. Please subscribe. I can understand food brands rebranding to try to appeal to a broader audience, but when a whole show does it, it can completely come out of nowhere if it isn't done right. I think the Dragon Ball franchise is a good example of how a show can successfully rebrand. Shoot, it was so successful that most people who are fans of the series haven't even watched the original Dragon Ball. I'm looking at you. Yes, you, the person who has only seen Dragon Ball Z through TikTok clips and Team 4 Star. You people make me sick. But for those of you who need a refresher, Dragon Ball was originally a fantasy adventure gag series. Yes, Dragon Ball was originally a gag series. Don't forget that this man Goku defeated someone by leaving them on the moon, and the first wish in the series was for some panties. This show did not take itself too seriously. Then they switched over to the more serious and mature Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, listen to that engine. You know what that sound is? Power!
Can you imagine watching Dragon Ball and then it turning into Dragon Ball Z for the first time and realizing everything you were told about this world was a lie? Goku is an alien, Kami isn't really God, he's just some type of magical alien, and Piccolo isn't a demon, but an alien-demon hybrid, I think? I still don't know what to classify him as. And this happens in just a couple episodes. If this happened today, you know anime TikTok and Twitter would go crazy. They would be saying stuff like Toriyama can't write, Shonen Jump is cooked, and make 5-hour video essays on the downfall of Dragon Ball. But of course, it turned out great for the franchise, and now they're doing more creative and experimental things with the series, like fighting the Red Ribbon Army, again, and fighting Frieza, again. I'm starting to see a pattern here. But the rebranding could have been a lot worse. At least it wasn't Loonatics Unleashed. Sometimes I feel like this show was a bad dream. Like, who asked for this? The last thing we needed was an edgy action cartoon with Looney Tune characters. That's like making Elmo the next John Wick. This series was doomed from the start. I remember before the first episode even came out, they had a teaser and people were mad about the character redesigns because no one was given any context to why the Looney Tunes look like that. But it turned out these weren't redesigns at all. It turned out these characters were descendants of the original Looney Tunes characters. It still didn't change the fact that this show was a bargain bin Teen Titans. I mean, look at it. I vividly remember watching the news and some kid was calling Ace Bunny the evil Bugs Bunny.
What do you think, Kenny?
That's an evil Bugs Bunny, I think. It is.
There was even an 11-year-old who created a website to change the designs of the characters. Damn, you know this kid was fed up. Since this was the internet in the early 2000s, we still had Flash games and Club Penguin. But he decided to make a whole website with CSS and everything because they were ruining his childhood right in front of him while he was still a child. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was little, I only hated this show because everyone else around me hated it. But watching it now, I realized it wasn't really that bad. But too bad it only got 2 seasons. It had so much potential. But at least on the bright side, we got the masterpiece that is the Looney Tunes show.
Put down the pen! Put down the stapler or I'll write all over the pig's face!
So why does everyone want to write on my face?
Just give me my spot! Put down the pen!
The permanent ink!
I said, give me my sparkle! Put it down!
The permanent!
I'm not leaving here until you give me my sparkle! I said put it down!
You won't come off!
But mind you, the craziest thing about this show's lore is that there is framed artwork from Loonatics Unleashed in the offices of Warner Brothers to make sure they never do some shit like this ever again. Not to mention that every new Looney Tunes project goes out of their way to make fun of this show.
Crime alert! And it's coming from Warner Brothers Animation in Burbank.
Did they reboot the Loonatics?
You can't just go out of your way to forget the things that made you who you are. Speaking of people trying to forget the things that made them who they are, Japan. Ah, yes, the land of the rising sun, famous for anime, video games, and reliable cars. But it wasn't always like this. You see, Japan used to be a brutal empire that was bent on conquering most of East Asia. After they were Oppenheimer, they spent a lot of time thinking on how they wronged a lot of Asia. Psych! They barely apologized for anything they did during the war. If you live in America or just in the West in general, you probably never learned about some of the things Japan did during the war, since they do a really good job omitting a lot of what they did in our history books. At least we're close allies with them now. Even though we left their country in ruins and gave their citizens aggressive forms of cancer, that they will just keep passing on to newer generations. But at least it's a hub for tourists and people who really want to immerse themselves in Japanese culture. It's also a prime destination for men who are losers in their home country looking for an Asian bride. Sorry, buddy, this isn't Narnia. This is a real place with real women. And if the women in your home country thought you were a loser, then Japanese women are probably going to think you're a super loser. You have a better chance on getting a free blue check mark from Elon. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to include the worst rebrand of them all. I'm sorry, I'm not calling it by its new name. I refuse. Its mama named it Twitter, so I'm gonna call it Twitter. There's multiple videos about people talking about this rebrand. It's kind of overhated at this point. Don't get me wrong, this rebrand is horrendous, but it's like every day people talk about how this site is going to die, but somehow it lives to see another day. So I guess it's doing something right, or Elon's just pumping all his money into it to keep it alive. Who knows? Anyways, moral of the story. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Bye.